you can't bring every single thing with you every single time. So as a mobile mechanic, there's a few key things that you want to make sure to have, at least I've found anyways. So in this video, we're going to go over my most used diagnostic tools. There's a balance, really, right? You know, I could put every single tool I have into the back of my truck. Honestly, I couldn't do that. It wouldn't fit. Um, but essentially, you know, the more I leave all my stuff in my truck, you know, the more digging around I have to do to find stuff, the more likely things are going to get stolen, etc. So these are the things that stay in my truck when I'm going out doing these mobile diagnostic jobs and stuff like that. I get a lot of phone calls for check engine lights, you know, poor running, all that kind of stuff. So these are the things that stay with me all the time to be able to tackle these kind of jobs, you know, whether it's no start, some type of electrical problem, you know, warning lights, check engine lights, stuff like that. So let's have a look. First and foremost, we got our different scanners here. I've got a few different ones I like to use. Good, better, best, right? The little Mac scanner here, I've had this thing for years. Not a whole lot of capability to it. I use this mainly for checking OBD monitors to see if they're set for the purposes of emissions testing. You know, here in California, you have to have all the OBD monitors set and the check engine light off, obviously, to be able to pass an emissions test. So you can't just clear your check engine light and go take it to get smogged or emissions tested right away. You have to drive the car for sometimes up to a couple hundred miles to get all those different monitors to set. So I use this as a quick and easy way to check that. This thing, you know, loads up super fast, and it's really easy to check those monitors really, really quick. I also use it for clearing check engine lights after I've done a repair. Again, super fast and easy to use. So that's what I keep this thing around for. All right, scanner number 2, we got the Snap-on Ethos Tech. I like this thing a lot. It's really fast. It has a lot of good capabilities on it. I use this also for a lot of off-brand diagnostics. You know, I do oftentimes find myself working on a random, you know, Dodge Challenger, you know, or whatever brand it is. So this scanner will talk to just about everything. Can get all the fault codes. It's bi-directional. I can even do battery registration and stuff like that with it. So if I'm doing something non-BMW or Mini, I'll use this, or if I'm just doing a quick battery registration, I'll use that. Because my third option over here is a little more intense to use, and that's the BMW Ista. There's a lot going on here. You've got a laptop, you've got the control head there and cable and everything. This is the slowest of the 3 options, but it has the most capability, right? I also have the capability to code and program cars, you know, after a control unit replacement, software update, stuff like that. Now, this is very expensive to maintain subscriptions for and all that kind of stuff. And when you're doing kind of more heavy diagnosis, the ISTA is the way to go. It has all the test plans in there. It's very, very useful and a very, very powerful tool. And like I said, I can do coding and programming and stuff as well. So although it takes a while for the computer to boot up, you know, this is kind of an old school computer as well. I might try to upgrade that soon and get a SSD, something a little bit faster. But for now, I've been using that thing for years. Works great. There's just about, I don't think there's anything that this thing won't do. You know, you just have to take your time and kind of wait around for it. You know, and it's not lightning fast, but there's basically nothing it can't do. It can do BMW, Mini, Rolls-Royce, and many Land Rover vehicles as well for diagnosis and programming. I can even do motorcycles with it, BMW motorcycles, which I don't work on motorcycles very often, but that's the best of the best right there. So when you're a BMW and Mini Cooper specialist, if you don't have an ISTA, you're basically just kidding yourself. So we'll move on from here and go to the bulk of the tools here. The Fluke 73. This thing's a tank, just dead reliable. Use that a lot for electrical testing. Another tool I use a lot for electrical testing is power probe. This is an old school one. This is the original power probe right here. You hook it up to power and ground. It's got a light right here. Tells you, green or red for power or ground, and it's got the rocker switch right there. So you can apply power and or ground as needed with the tip there. And it's also got a little, somewhere in here, that small wire wrapped around there. That's a ground lead. So you can very easily apply grounds to places, pull relays out and attach the ground strap to one side and trigger the relay with the other one for relay testing. Also super handy for testing fuses. You can go along a fuse box and test fuses and see if they have power on both sides. Just stab the tip on either side of the fuse and just go along one at a time to every single fuse without pulling any fuses out. Super handy to have. I do also have the other power probe. Let's have a look at that real quick. Okay, that's the power probe 3, I believe it is. Super handy. Same kind of deal. It's got the power and ground you hook up. This one comes with different attachments you can plug into, like a cigarette lighter and stuff like that. But the difference is it's got a screen right there. So it shows you voltage. You can, check and set a bunch of different parameters on this thing. It even has a sound warning for continuity testing, voltage and whatever else. Same kind of operation. The tip just kind of pops in there, though it's removable. Rocker switch, you can apply power and ground. All the same operation, just the updated version. If I know I'm going to be doing heavier electronic stuff, I'll bring that instead of the basic power probe. But I use the power probe so much. I use the basic one a lot, like all the time. So power probe, that's a win. All right, and my last couple bits of electronic test equipment. Basically, we got a little battery tester right here. I use that all the time. Just clip it onto the battery, flip through the menu. You can do battery charging, starting system tests, all that. Checks for AC current, ripple diodes and alternator and all that kind of stuff. Super handy tool. I use that a lot. And then we have, this is a inductive amp clamp. And this amp clamp is actually pretty slick. You can see it's got a couple of like multimeter leads on it where you can plug those into the end of it there. But it's got a bunch of different settings on it. This thing actually serves as a little multimeter as well. I don't generally use it for that just because I bought it just for the use of the amp clamp. The amp clamp is handy to diagnose parasitic draws, like when your battery is draining overnight. So you clamp that thing. See, it's got jaws open up. You clamp it over the positive or negative cable to measure parasitic draw. Once a car goes to sleep, generally you want to see it like 30 milliamp draw or less, ideally less than that. And the cars, BMW and Mini cars, go to sleep after a period of 12 to 20 minutes depending. Usually it's around 15 or 16, but some cars are a little different. So when the battery's got a draw, you'll measure a larger parasitic draw with this tool, right? So you might see the parasitic draw up to like 900 milliamps or something like that. That's a pretty good draw. May kill a battery overnight if it's marginal. If it's a real, if it's a real new battery, it might not kill it overnight, but definitely over the course of a couple days. So if you got a situation like that, this can help you track that down. A few different ways you can approach a parasitic draw. I won't get into the details, but that's what I use for that. So that's a very handy tool I recommend. All right, getting into the rest of my little travel box here. Here's another handy thing. This falls under the scope of electrical testing. This is a coil on plug tester. This thing's pretty slick. As you can see, it's got a little sensitivity adjustment right there. And essentially what you do is you hold this clip down. See, the light comes on. You hold the clip down and you lay it up against a coil. And every time that coil fires, there's a red light next to the green one there. It's not on right now, but every time the coil fires, there's a red light that'll flash right there. So if you got a misfire, super easy to figure that out. Lay this thing on each coil one at a time and find the one that's not blinking. The one that's not blinking is not firing. All right, moving on from electrical testing stuff. You'll see I have a lot of kind of basic tools in here. So we have 1/4 inch magnetic sockets. I have 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and I got a short 10 right there too. Magnetic sockets are super handy so you don't drop nuts. Stays stuck in there. Little nuts and bolts that are down in crevices and whatnot, you can pull them straight up out of there with the magnetic sockets. Now, when diagnosing a car, there are many cases where you have to take stuff apart, so that's why I have some basic tools down here. Got some little sockets, various basic size sockets, O2 sensor socket, got a spark plug socket, a couple little, bits for my bit driver, stuff like that. Got these long Torx bits and, like a universal extension. A lot of basic stuff. I like these things too. These are great. These little adapter pieces, right? So, for instance, I have my Milwaukee ratchet here, right? It's 1/4 inch. But sometimes I'll find that I need the small 1/4 inch ratchet to get into a tight spot, but I don't have a great socket in the 1/4 inch size that I need to get into that particular spot with, with what I'm working with. So you can stick that adapter on there. All of a sudden it's 3/8. That adapter is magnetic, and you can stick whatever 3/8 socket you want right on a quarter drive. So those come in super handy as well. Another thing I use quite often, usually after finding a dead hole in a Mini Cooper, is this borescope. Got this one on Amazon. It's cheap. I know you can get really super amazing borescopes from Snap-on or whatever other tool truck. This one was $60. There's even a cheaper one, but the reason I got this one for $60 is it has a side camera. I don't know if you can quite see it there. So you can look straight down, like at the top of the piston, or you can change the view and look at the side, and that helps if you're looking for bent or broken valves. Alright, the last piece of kit here that I would say I can't live without from a diagnostic standpoint is a smoke machine. This one I got for cheap on Amazon, and it's been working great. It's the Autoline Pro. The thing that I love about this one is a lot of smoke machines, you have to plug compressed air into it to make the smoke flow, right? So you got a power and ground connection to make the coils heat up and make smoke, but then you have to plug in compressed air as well in order to make the smoke pour out. This one is just power. It creates its own pressure inside and creates its own smoke. That is a game changer right there. You've got your different caps for smoke testing as well, and then this thing is just so great. This is a universal smoke test adapter, right? So essentially you stick this in your intake tube. It's got a a tube to go through where you can pump the smoke straight in. It's got a little bulb, right? You just pump the bulb and this thing pumps up and it fills whatever size tube you have. I use this thing so much. I mean, I haven't even used these caps at all because, as any of you know, with BMWs, if you work on BMWs, you get lean codes all the time. You're constantly smoke testing. PCV valves and PCV hoses and all that stuff break apart. You constantly are smoke testing these things all the freaking time. This thing is a game changer right here between the Autoline Pro smoke machine and the universal smoke machine adapter. That is just such a game changer. This little tool I actually made. I use this for evap testing. So when you do evap testing, like you've got a evaporative evap code like PO 442 or 440, whatever it is, to smoke test the evap system, you have to plug the vent, right? Because it vents to atmosphere through the charcoal canister. If you smoke test the evap system without plugging the vent, all the smoke's just going to pour out the vent. Well, you have to plug the vent, right? So what I did was I found the little tool from BMW. I've had this for probably 15 years. I bought it from BMW. And I stuck a brake bleeder screw in the end of it that goes through. I don't know if you can see, and then I just put a vacuum hose on it. So all I do is take the vent connection off, snap this in there, and I can pump smoke straight into the charcoal canister system and all that right at the back of the vehicle, rather than disconnecting the purge valve up front and smoking it from that way. I mean, you can do that as well, but so that's a cool little trick for evap testing. I've been doing that for a long time. Oh, also, I forgot stethoscope. So if you guys like this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Support my channel a little bit. I'm going to bring as much nonsense and tomfoolery as I can to you Throw a comment down below if you think there's more other tools I should have or consider in my diagnostic arsenal here. This has been working out pretty good for me so far, but throw a comment down below if you like, have suggestions, or even salty comments. I love salt. So take care, guys. Enjoy.